Hey friends, welcome to the second season of So What Makes You Come Alive podcast, inspiring conversations with everyday humans like you about what lights them up. We're your hosts, Gabe the Girl
and Michaela McGee. And this season, we're continuing to explore what it would look like to take ownership of and change the narratives of our lives to live a life fully alive.
Hey everybody, welcome back to So What Makes You Come Alive podcast. I'm Gabe the Girl.
And I'm Michaela.
And today's discussion will actually be a conversation between Michaela and I on the topic of spheres of control. Accepting what you cannot change and focusing on what you can change. And understanding spheres. Oh my gosh, that's going to be a fun one to say this entire episode. Spheres of control. We'll just emphasize that. Or else it's all going to run together. Spheres of control, I think, is essential to writing a better story for your life, and actually obtaining more satisfaction in our lives, right? So today we're going to talk about the three areas of control, which are no control, some control, and then total control.
All the spheres.
The spheres.
Well, I think I love the way that you put that in terms of writing your story. Like it almost allows us to go from victim to main character. Like the story is happening to us versus the story is happening for us. You know, we are the main characters of our story when we allow, or when we realize how much control we actually have and we get to guide it.
Yeah, I think if we went back and looked at some of our favorite stories that of things that we've read or movies that we've watched, we would probably see that in the character development. They started to, relinquish control over the things they knew they didn't have control over, or they only had some control over, and they took advantage then in, the arcing of their character and the growth of their character in understanding what they could have control over. And they decided to make the journey.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so much of it is about the journey. And like, okay, so maybe we could go through some examples too of like what are some things that we have no control over? The weather. Like I complain. We were just talking about this. Like the sun just came out for Gabe. The sun has been out here and I'm so freaking grateful. But I cannot control when it's like super gloomy, crappy, blah weather versus when it's gorgeous and sunny. Womp womp.
Yeah. And I mean, here too, I live in a very rainy region of Spain. They say the rain in Spain falls mainly in the plains. No, it does not. It falls mainly in my region of Spain in the Northwest. Similar to the Pacific Northwest of the States, we get all the rain. So yeah, the weather is definitely something that's definitely not within my control. Also, traffic. I mean, I don't have a car at this point in my life, but how about, getting in the car and going somewhere?
Or even traffic patterns, like even as a pedestrian, it's like you still have to wait to be able to cross the street or whatever. Like there is, I feel like even other people's actions is something out of our control. Like how other people are choosing to react. That goes towards traffic, right? Like car accidents and whatever. Not like people are choosing to be in a car accident, but like that impacts you, and yet you have no control over that situation.
Totally. Other people's actions and other people's thoughts, right? Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How often do I don't know if any of you guys are out there thinking this with me, but I know, like, growing up doing a bit of people pleasing, like you're literally like trying to control what people think about you, right?
Yep.
And you just can't overall. Like, maybe they give you words of affirmation, they tell you how good of a job you did, but you are never able to fully control somebody else's thoughts about you or about anything else in the world.
No, you can't. Or their beliefs or anything. Like that's their own internal story, their own things too. But I mean, I don't know. The people pleasing thing, like that is Ugh.
It's a
It's
little deep.
yeah, it does. And it's hard to let go of that one too and just like
Yeah.
relinquish control over like, okay, well, I can't. I will
Mm-hmm.
never be able to actually please every single person. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Letting go of that one was hard. And yet
Yeah.
it has been so freeing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty clear that there are a bunch of things in life that like we have no control over, but moving into that next sphere, like what are things that we might have some control over?
Mm.
Who we surround ourselves by.
Ooh, I like that. Say it
Mm-hmm.
again. Say it again.
I feel like we're at the Lion King, the hyenas. What does he say?
Ooh.
Ooh, Mufasa.
Mufasa. Who you surround
Oh,
yourself with. Oh my gosh. I think
right?
about this all. I guess because my community is so small here that, like,
Mm,
and as you're growing and developing relationships, you're making decisions on who am I going to spend my time with? Like, who am I investing in? Like,
yeah.
that kind of thing. And so, even back in the States, I had like my little communities here and there. Like, who am I
Mm-hmm.
investing my time with? Oh, I'm gonna go rock climbing with the rock climbing people, and then I'm gonna
Yeah.
go do this thing with this group of people, and you know, but
Mm-hmm.
they say, what do they say? You are the sum of your five closest
Yes.
friends,
Way to read
right?
my mind.
There you go.
But it's true. It's true. We actually get to control that, right? Like who we are
Mm.
choosing to spend our time with. I might not be
Yeah.
able to control what people think about me
Hmm.
or what their actions are in regards to myself, but I can certainly choose to surround myself with people who I know love me, care about me, believe in
Yeah.
me, want to
Yeah.
see me grow versus surrounding
Challenging.
myself, yeah, with like negative minded people.
Yeah.
I mean, sure,
Oof.
yeah, we could all stand to be a little bit more realistic and like less
Hmm.
like, I don't know, in the clouds and dreamy and whatever,
Yeah.
but I can do that surrounded by loving people
Sure.
who believe in my potential. And I'd kind of
Sure.
rather do that.
Totally. And well, here's another. I don't know if this is a paradigm or like what you would call this, but it's like, okay, so you may have no control over the people that get hired at your workplace, right?
Mm,
But you do have some control over where you work.
yeah. Hmm.
Let's throw that in there. You may have no
Yeah.
control over who you're working with at a company because there's going to be
Hmm.
whoever however many people from all different backgrounds, all different stages of life or experience or personalities, but you do have some control over who you decide to work with.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That is very, very freaking true. Holy moly. I don't think that I ever really felt like I had true control over that because it was just like, I need a job. I got to pay my
Sure.
bills. I got to do
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. But
Totally.
like, we do get to choose how we're spending our time,
Yeah.
even when it means like we still have to pay our bills. Like, you can
Totally.
choose to find ways to pay those bills. You can choose to have a side gig that frees up your time so that you don't have to work that one particular job.
Hmm.
Or you can, I don't know, go out and invest some money. I don't know. Like there are
Sure.
totally
Yeah.
ways. There are so
Yeah.
many
There
other
are
ways to
creative
like,
ways.
yeah. So maybe how can we be more creative in allowing ourselves to take a little bit more control over those things? Like we might
Yeah.
not be able to control who our employers hire to work with us or for us,
Totally. Yeah.
but totally. Yeah. We do get to choose where we're working to an extent,
Yeah.
I guess.
Hmm.
It's totally like a mindset thing. Of course, we get to choose where we work. We can choose, like, I
Hmm.
chose nonprofits for so many years because it's like incredibly
Yep.
heart centered. And then I moved to Boston and I was like, it's so expensive here. I can't afford to work for a nonprofit. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, I still felt like I had options. Like, I could still go out and seek a higher paying job, knowing that what I was doing during the day was having an impact. Like you
Yeah.
just, if that is something that's so important to you, like how, whatever your company stands for or whatever the organization is, like is it important to you that your day-to-day be super meaningful, or does that not matter and you just want to be able to like leave it at the end of the day, but you know that you work for an organization that is creating an impact? Like,
yeah,
find what's actually meaningful for you, and then take control of that situation, take action on it. This is good. Yeah. I mean, along those same lines, like you really do get to control your schedule, whether you think that you do or not. You know, I know that we have to work, but like you also get to control whether you say yes to certain things, how busy you really feel, on top of, you know, your commitment to working X number of hours a week. I am also needing to say this to myself.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
I mean, yeah. And looking at these areas of control, we have to also kind of take a look at our values, right? So when we're, you know, organizing our schedule, when we are looking at the community of people surrounding us, when we are deciding who or what we're going to do with, you know, who we're going to work for, what we're going to do with our lives, it's also it kind of, that can come back to like, okay, where are my values? And if I have some control over areas of these lives, I want them these areas in my life, then I want them to, I mean, me personally, I want them to be aligned with my values.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that brings up another really great point. Like, do you know your values? Do each of us know? I think I've done a lot of work over the years digging into this stuff, but maybe one of the more insightful things that I feel like I've come to realize recently is that like we are constantly evolving, and our values get to evolve with that.
Yep.
Like I thought for a long time that I was like, oh crap, well, those were my values 10 years ago, so they got to still be my values now. Okay, I guess that's that. And like, sure, there are some values that I valued then that I still value now, but a lot of them have changed because I have changed. I morph. We are all constantly like, we are in motion. What the heck are we doing in life if we're not evolving, if we're not changing, if we're not growing and just becoming, you know, our truest essence? I don't know, like more and more of ourselves. I don't know. I think the more that we really like dig into living a life that's fully alive, living a life that truly lights us up, we realize more and more who we actually are and what our values really are. And I think even asking ourselves that question, like, what really lights you up? Boom. There you go. There are some values right there.
There you go.
You know? Sunshine. Sunshine really lights me up. Good weather.
Yeah. I'll say in the last like 6 months ish, like I have realized that I have more deep-rooted values that I had never put words to that I discovered in the last 6 months through conversations and interactions with different people. And I'm like, oh, wait, I guess, that's a value of mine. Like, really, this is really important to me. And it's just like stuff that I'm like, I'm about to be 32. You know, it's not like, you know, you solidify what your values are in your early adulthood years, and then that's what they are till what they are until you go to the grave. Like, no, like they get to grow and change, and you get to become more of yourself. I love this quote. It's just like, okay, and with God's help, I shall become myself. Like the process of becoming myself is like an ongoing process, because I am continually a different, like, not a different version of me. I am still myself, but I am like,
but it's like an iteration.
And a new chapter of me, a new, you know, a new season of who I am in this context. With these people doing this thing, or, you know, like you're continually adding to like the richness, the riches of your life.
Totally. I actually think that beautifully goes back to what you were talking about with the story at the beginning, and like character development and the arc and the journey and everything. That like when you begin a book, you only get like a tiny little glimpse of who that character is. And if your understanding of that character from chapter 1 carried through the entire book, would you want to keep reading? Like, how boring would that be?
Ew.
Right? I love that idea of like, it's a new chapter. The more like, as new relationships come into our life, or we enter a new job situation, or we move to a new place, or whatever, like there is a lot of change that brings up this idea, or not idea, this like understanding of who we actually are, understanding ourselves,
Yeah.
and having a deeper understanding of our values too. Like in this particular situation, what is of high value to me? It might be so different than this other situation that I was in 2 years ago. That doesn't, that doesn't change the core of who I am, but it changes this chapter of who I am and how I respond.
Yeah.
This is good. Values are really good. Yeah, right? Totally.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about some control.
Yeah.
Things that we have some control over. We talked about support system, schedule, home or work environment.
Yeah.
Now let's move into total control.
Control.
What do we have total control over?
I'd say anything internal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how you perceive things, your mindset, your thoughts, your beliefs, like anything that is core to who you are and how you're choosing to experience life gets to be under your complete control.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw out another quote. Here we
Oh
go.
boy. So good.
I love this quote, and I remember it often. And I often try to encourage friends with this as well, which is what you make of this moment changes everything.
Mm.
You could be having the rainiest of days, the saddest, gloomiest of days, and it just could be like one thing after the next happening. Maybe you don't have control over your car breaking down.
Yeah.
Maybe you have some control over whatever happens after that, but you have total control over how you handle that situation, your
Yeah.
mindset in that moment, your actions in that moment, what effort you put forth,
Mm-hmm.
whatever challenge may be. We have total control over really changing a lot within those
Yeah.
situations or challenges, or opportunities,
Yeah.
with you know taking total control over how we respond.
Yes. Yeah. Big time. I think it just, yeah, like we cannot control the situation that we're in, but we can always control our reaction to the
Yeah.
situation, how we respond to it. I know
Mm-hmm.
there's a lesson, I'm sure it's a quote somewhere, but this idea of like there's an arrow that hits your hand, and that is out of your control. But then the second arrow comes, and that second arrow is actually your response to the first arrow that has hit you. And it is like you actually get to control where that second arrow goes ultimately. Like, obviously, this is a metaphor here. And I don't feel like I'm explaining it very well, but it's this like, this idea of like, okay, well, that just happened. Now what? Now,
Mm-hmm.
how am I going to choose to respond to that? Like, that is,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the essence of your quote, how you
Yeah.
actually choose to see these things. And that has been a really huge exercise for me. This gloomy spring that we've had, that I'm like, the weather really truly affects me. It does so much. And that the weather itself is something that's completely out of my control. Like, we've established that I cannot, no matter how hard I pray or do rain dances or sun dances or whatever, like, it does not affect
Where's
anything.
Tim Allen?
Yeah, right. I mean, seriously, like I cannot go into the weather app and say, no, I'm going to rewrite this one. I wish I could, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But I have shifted my mindset around the gloomy days and said,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm grateful for the breaks in the rain, because like, girl, I gotta go outside with these dogs. Like, I have to get outside even on those gloomy
Yeah.
days. And I can find little bits of gratitude in those moments that, like, even on the crappiest of days, I still get fresh air. I
Mhm.
still get to be outside in nature. How amazing is that? I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for that. I get to
Yeah.
feel the rain on my face. That's
Mhm.
amazing. And also, more than anything, I love that these gloomy days are an invitation to slow down and be
Mm.
cozy, wrap myself up in
Mm.
a blanket, just go at a totally different pace, you know? Like, I mean, I could do that any day, but I feel like the gloomy days are just have become this beautiful invitation. And it's because that's my mindset. Like, that's how I'm choosing to see it. It's still the same. The weather has not changed at all, but totally how I'm
Yeah.
seeing it changes everything. I can either have
Mhm.
a good attitude or a bad attitude. That's what my mom
Yeah.
used to say. And I would always choose a bad attitude because I did not like that saying. Like, I'm going to choose it.
Uh,
You gave me the option, so I'm going to go ahead and choose that one.
doesn't
But
that sound like child logic?
yes. Yeah. Well, all right.
All
Yeah,
right.
but
All right.
but I love the idea of coziness, like
Mhm.
getting to
Yeah.
sit by a fire, snuggled up by a dog. Are you kidding me? Who wouldn't want that? Maybe somebody who's allergic to dogs, but
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I
I-
mean, it's what we're talking about here is going back to that victim versus
mm,
hero mentality.
yeah.
When we accept what we can't change and focus on what we can change, it helps reduce a lot of worry in our lives and anxieties.
Hmm.
It gives our brain, when we approach things with like curiosity, a project to direct our energy towards. You
Yeah.
create positive circuit in your brain by saying,
Yes.
this is outside of my control. Sometimes I have to say that out loud. I'm such a verbal processor that I
Mhm.
might sit down with Michaela and be like, all of this stuff is happening and I'm overwhelmed. But you know what? These are the things I cannot control. So now I have to
Mhm.
figure out what's my responsibility. What can I control? What am I going to do about it? And how am I going to make the best out of this? And
Yeah.
where's the fruit going to come from? Like
Hmm.
I'm going to take something away from this, and if it's going to be really hard or if it's going to be uncomfortable, I'd rather take a look at it and say like, no, that uncomfortable and that hard and that challenge, that's going to bring me fruit. Like it's
Yeah.
it's not going to just bring me pain or uncomfortability, or it's not just going to be icky to walk through. I'm going to come out of it with something.
Yeah.
Right?
Love it. Yes.
Yeah. That's
That's so
that's
true.
that's the person I want to be in this story.
Yes.
We're going in,
Right.
we're getting money, but we're coming out with, you know, something good.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but there are these like spheres of consciousness that make me think of this too. This like life is happening to me. And then the next level up is life is happening for me. And the next level up is life is happening through me. And it's
Mhm.
so much the same that, like, when you
Yeah.
feel like you have no control, life is happening to you. When you feel like you have
Yep.
some control, life is happening for you. Like, you can
Mhm.
see that there's a blessing or a lesson in the situation, but life is happening through you when you
Mm.
feel like you have total control, because it's through your mindset. Like, our thoughts create our reality. How we are choosing to perceive something is
Yeah.
exactly how it's going to be perceived, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's all, everything is like, you
Yeah.
guys can't see me because this is a podcast, but I'm pointing to my head. Like, everything is all inside of us. It's all inside of our heads and our hearts. And like, at the end of the day, we get to make that conscious choice. So are you
Yeah.
choosing a life of full control, a life that lights you up because you have the choice to do that?
Yeah.
Sure, we can feel those crummy moments because that's also life. We can really feel everything, but we
Mhm.
also get to choose that that's what we're feeling in that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. And let me just put out a disclaimer too, on that note. There are times when very devastating things happen
Mhm.
in the world and in our personal lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means, all right, I need to lay down for a bit because I'm tired and I right now am not equipped with the strength to face this.
Mhm.
And that is okay too. Like
Yes.
that is a great response. Like knowing
Mhm.
yourself enough to know like, okay, I have no control over this right now, but you
Mhm.
know what I have some control over? I have some control over my thoughts right now towards the situation. You know, who knows? I mean, the
Yeah.
whole world is becoming more aware of trauma and things of that nature. Like sometimes you can't help when those things come running back through your mind, but I do
Mm.
have total control over giving my body the rest that it needs. I
Yes.
do have total control over maintaining streams of communication with this person or not. You
Yeah.
know, I have total control over some of those things that I know are going to eventually help me to get through this moment or, you know, this
Yeah.
chapter or this season. So just disclaimer
Absolutely.
out there, like there are really, really big challenges that come our way in
Yes.
life. And
Yeah.
sometimes our total control doesn't necessarily look like charging ahead or changing right on a dime. It means taking the time and using gentle effort and
Yes.
gradually, gracefully, like being loving towards our mindset as we make those changes.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually, changes that are made over time, like longer periods of time, like gradual changes, are actually more sustainable.
Yep. Yes. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
It's true. And as I was listening to you say that, I feel like one of the greatest things that we can really do within total control is learn to love and accept exactly where we are.
Mm.
It does not matter the
Yeah.
situation or anything
Yeah.
else that's going on. Just we are where we are. And that's
Mm-hmm.
perfect, right?
Yeah.
We get to love ourselves when we are in those moments of utter devastation. And all we can do is curl up in a ball and cry or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
be exactly where we need to be and
Mm-hmm.
find even like the smallest little amount of love that you can give yourself in those
Mm-hmm.
moments and know
Yeah.
that that is exactly where you need to be and it is
Yeah.
perfect. Mm-hmm. That was a really important disclaimer because I feel like sometimes
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, okay, well, we'll get control over our lives and then everything will be perfect. But like, okay, gotcha.
But
I still
also,
can't
I
control it.
still can't control this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
journey.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
a
it is.
journey. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just one journey, it's many journeys. It's not just one character that goes on one lifelong adventure. Like yes, there is that story, that
Mm-hmm.
storyline. Yes, there is that. But honestly, like we are characters going through many changes over time, through many seasons, many different versions of our story are like playing out
Yep.
throughout the entirety of our lives. So
Yes.
maybe you're in a flat season, maybe you're in a climb, maybe you are at the climax of that time of your life.
Mm.
And you're fighting. Maybe you are you know, on the downside of coming back to, you know, peace and safety or, you know,
Yeah.
like so it's just life is a journey and
Mm-hmm.
each person's season maybe is a, you know, of a different length than another. Um, but all within that, like focusing on what we can and cannot control is going to aid us so much
Yeah.
to writing such great stories with our lives and getting to share those stories with others.
Yeah. Yes. And we do love getting to share these stories. It it lights me up so much to just get to hear other people's stories and hear where they are and yeah, the journeys that they've been on to get them to exactly where they are. And I'm just going to smoothly transition right now into we really love hearing from every single one of you guys. Like, thank you for the messages. Thank you for jumping on this podcast with us and sharing your stories with us. If you have been listening to this podcast, even just for one episode or however many episodes, we would love to hear your story. Feel free to reach out to us anytime at Thrive Fully Alive on Instagram and Facebook, or you can email us at thrivefullyalive@gmail.com and let us know what lights you up. Let us know what is coming up for you as you're listening to these episodes. If you want to jump on this podcast and be part of the conversation with us, we would absolutely love to have you. Like
Come
this is,
on.
this is really everyday people. Like there's no criteria other than you just be a living, breathing human being. And we love,
living.
yes, exactly. And like whether you feel like you're living fully alive or not, you are, because you are living and you happen to be fully alive. I'm just saying, if you're living, I'm just talking in circles over here. I'm excited to have so many more people be on this podcast. So if this resonates with you, please do reach out to us. You can also find the form on Instagram in our bio. To complete, if you do want to be on an episode, feel free to send it to any friends of yours that you feel would be a good guest as well. And we look forward to so many more episodes in the coming weeks.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here today. We've loved having this conversation and getting to share it with you. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to So What Makes You Come Alive. We're so inspired by the conversations we get to have with everyday humans about what lights them up and how to love the story they're living. We hope that you feel just as inspired too.
Interested in getting in on the inspiration? Click the link in our Instagram bio @ThriveFullyAlive and select the option for The One About You, be our guest. Remember to tune in each week for a new episode where we explore what it looks like to get back to living our best story, where we hope that your favorite story becomes your own.